On June 26, 2024, auxiliary communicators from across Contra Costa County joined together to participate in a 2-hour exercise where they tested their ability to communicate resource needs in a disaster. On June the 28th, they met virtually to contribute their observations on what went well and where improvement was needed before next year's exercise. We joined that meeting in progress. Observations, we're going to start with our observers because Steve is driving. Steve.
Yes. Oh, hi. Hi, everybody. I broke it down to two things. The exercise, I think, went really well. The simulated communications and needs for supplies and resources, I thought was very well done. People were very creative with the resources that they needed, and I think overall, I mean, it was pretty creative. On the communications end of it, like communications between this is the parts that I think worked really well. The communication between John Muir and Concord EOC were really good. The communications for messaging were very slow, concise, and waited for acknowledgement in between, say, certain paragraphs before proceeding with the rest of the message. I thought that worked really well. There was also another really good transition from Concord EOC and Walnut Creek to move over to the Simplex channel. Also, Concord EOC and Walnut Creek returning to the main HAM from Simplex. That transition worked really well. And everybody checking in with net control when they were either leaving or when they were back, I think was phenomenal. Also, and the same thing happened on the repeater side of it between Walnut Creek and San Ramon, switching over to CX. And even net control chimed in, I think, at one point and said CX was a little busy, try again in a little bit. And then I think they did eventually move over, or correct me if I'm wrong. And the other thing I think that worked really well, and this is only the way I understand it, I'm sure other people will be able to chime in, that it seemed like there was some good communications on the HF net. And although I wasn't privy to any of the details, it seems like they were successful in passing information back and forth. And that is really phenomenal, because I've talked with Don Simon during field day, and that was one of the big concerns, was going from West County to East County or West County to Central County without linked repeaters, or in the event of a real disaster when repeaters are down, how do you relay that information and the need for resources? Some of the things I noticed that could be improved. Well, I know in the event of an emergency, I know not everything is going to work well equipment-wise, but I think net control's equipment, I don't know if net control had backup equipment or he borrowed equipment, but at the very start of the exercise, it was very difficult to understand net control at times, breaking in and out. I don't know if it was based on location or equipment, and his microphone was very overmodulated, which made, I know, a few people ask to repeat traffic. The other thing I noticed there was a lot of unnecessary traffic that I think really tied up the repeater usage. Trimming the traffic down to necessary words only, and not putting your own personal comments, and I think would also free up the repeater quicker and allow people to pass traffic smoother and easier. The other one, there was one specific message, and I don't remember the subject of that message offhand, but it was at roughly around the 10:20 mark. And there was one message, and I can't remember the calling party. I'm kind of glancing at my notes while I'm driving, but the message was really, really long. It may have been the one about pet carriers and pet food and things like that, and it was almost like you were reading it from a paragraph and not paring it down on the fly if need be, instead of something like, we have numerous pet carriers and food and supplies and water, and why get back to net control and just say, I have pet carriers and food if needed. something really concise like that. And it turned out after this whole paragraph was read, net control scribe missed part or most of the message, and the message had to be completely repeated over again. So that was one issue, and it tied up the repeater. What seemed like I thought the repeater was going to time out, actually. Let's see. Oh, there was also one bit of confusion. I think Richmond thought that the city of Martinez EOC was the county EOC, and I thought that they made that on the air. I didn't hear if they did. I didn't hear it. One little point, I don't know, the correction would be for that. And then the only other thing I saw was that at 11:58, the exercise ended abruptly with no check-ins or par check-ins from any of the field teams, any of the other cities, stating that they were ending the exercise. It just basically stopped. I know Net Control did make a little bit of an announcement doing a brief little thank you message, but it ended early and without any check-ins or final traffic. And I thought it was, if there were other stations that were moving back and forth between, say, HF or maybe a tactical frequency, or they were listening to local traffic within their jurisdiction, they may not have heard that. And that's pretty much all I have for observation, but I think the exercise went really well, and I also think it's a learning experience for everybody, and practice makes perfect. And I think the biggest takeaway, that would also help out in future exercises, and I did this last year when I was Net Control for Golden event, is 213 forms. They may have been filling it out at the local level, but maybe referring the 213 form by number to Net Control, when Net Control would come back to a city or a jurisdiction with a follow-up traffic, they wouldn't have to summarize the entire message again. They could just say, Martinez 213 number 115, here is your reply.
So message numbers, got it.
Right.
Yep.
So that's pretty much it. But thank you, Margaret, for the opportunity, and I really enjoyed listening into all the traffic.
And thank you for taking time out of your workday to do that, Steve. I appreciate it. Okay, very
Not a
good.
problem.
Very good. Thank you. So I don't think Tam has come on. Okay, so who wants to go next? Brief recommendations on things we should be doing, things that we were strong at, that, and let's build on what others have said, so that we're not repeating.
May I jump in?
Please
I
do.
have to leave or arrive at the 2 o'clock.
Absolutely.
Successes were that the frequencies were published well ahead of time, and it sounded like everyone who needed to switch to frequency knew what it was already, right?
Yep.
I'll articulate this maybe a little more concisely than I heard. We need to improve the notion of a command channel versus tactical channels, and shuttle traffic over to have just a synopsis on the command, shuttle it over to tactical, where the parties can exchange their information. Successes were HF. I believe in it now. HF, as described to me in the past, was an operator in San Ramon, TMN 6CC, will occasionally pass messages up to county. Curious, but not actionable for us in CERT. So we did not plan to use HF. This time it was described as a net. I will call it a backbone. So an HF backbone existed, a command channel to shuttle messages from one part of the county to a distant part of the county to be dispatched on a local simplex tactical. We are enthused about that idea, and we will discuss it in San Ramon CERT.
Great.
And that's what I have.
Thank you, Sean. You got a lot of people playing, so thank you very much for that leadership.
It was awesome. I love how this came together so quickly from our perspective. Thanks.
Okay, good. Thank you. Next person. other things you want to build? How about,
Look,
yeah,
yeah,
go-
you're
yeah,
looking for me,
please.
Margaret?
I am looking for
I
you.
figured you were.
How'd it go up there on Winling Plan?
Well, we'll get into that. First, let me comment on the HF. I did not. So the day before, Don and I tried HF, a great link between us and the West. So I agree with Sean. We'll have no problem. However, as far as I know, I'm the only operator locally that can use HF. So we're going to have to figure out what to do about that. I will also say that in all my trauma on dealing with WinLink, and I'll describe that, I did not track the change in the HF frequency, but I wasn't really planning to use HF anyway. So the good news is it'll certainly work where we are in Walnut Creek too. So that's all good. Now back to WinLink. So that was my main task.
And let me just throw in, I had already put on this form, Tim and Lori Salmons had sent in some recommendations, so I already typed some of that in. And one of the things that Tim recommended is that everybody's ZOC get HF. Okay, WinLink.
Yeah, well, it's not the problem with us. Just to add is if we get it to the EOC, I have no idea how we're going to put up an antenna.
Got it.
The city hall, or
Yeah, I know.
we'll have to figure that out. Just as Sean said, we'll have to work it out in Walnut Creek and figure out how we go.
Yep.
But Don too proved his point that he's been harping on for years. So good for him.
Good.
All right, WinLink. So overall comments, learned the lesson that I have to learn time and time again, which is that technology works. And I'm really now only referring to myself. Operators need training.
Yeah.
In this case, and in that case, that was me. So the technology worked fine. I was able to pass messages, certainly to Martinez. Prior to the exercise, I was able to pass messages to Oakland. I didn't do it during the exercise, and there were a couple of messages during it. That went back and forth, and I don't think I'll show the 309, but I did apply to it. I also monitored. What I also found was monitoring the VHF, the HF, and WinLink was a bit much for me to do by myself, particularly as I'm switching between radios and potential computer configurations. So we're just going to have to think about if we have multiple venues, multiple channels, how many operators we need. Some of the lessons I learned, let's see. Oh, in terms of equipment, if I am going to operate in that kind of a node, I need more power for sure. I mean, I cannot operate all the radios on batteries. The computer is more problematic. So I have to think about how to do that. All right. So let's see. Oh, one other thing. Well, I'll get to that. One other thing on the technology I discovered, I should have known that so I was using the call sign KK6BSN, which is the CERT call sign for Walnut Creek. I had registered my HF VARA on my own private call sign, and what I discovered was that registering VARA on VHF does not translate into HF. You have to you don't need a new license, but you have to re-register. Otherwise, it's slow. Quick to do, just a lesson I learned. Okay, operator errors. I need practice. And basically again, this is personalized. I don't know what the other people did, but basically all the errors I make on email, I made on WinLink, right? I fat fingered a call sign, went to the wrong place, right? And which fortunately WinLink said that we don't know who that is pretty quickly. So I was able to correct that. I got a message from JT before the exercise started on K9ONR, and my habit is to skim email. I said, that's not part of the exercise. John's not in it, and I ignored it. So, an operator error. And I'm going to blame John because he sent it out before 10 o'clock. But in fact, it's my fault. I didn't actually catch it until I went back to into my log and said, whoops.
So you missed my inject.
I missed your inject. Well, again, this is operator error. I've told anybody who listens, I'm a lousy net control operator. Now I should be able to do better on WinLink, but I've got to undo my habits of when you get hundreds of emails, you skim through them. That won't work if you're taking emergency messages. So you have to sort of retrain your mind At least I did. So let's see, what else did I discover? I used the 213 form, but the first time out, John, I used the Walnut Creek 213 form. That was an error, right? And I discovered, now the good news is when that went to the county, they could read the text and responded to the text, but the template, of course, didn't work. I realized that immediately when I saw my logs coming in, that something was wrong, and I changed to the standard 213. But again, that's something we're going to have to think about in Walnut Creek. Locally, on our local one, it works great. It does all the message, although there may be an issue with message numbers. But if we send it out, it'll just go as text. It won't go as a 213. Some more lessons for me. I have to set up more shortcuts on my WinLinks. So when I do want a template, I don't have to search through the directory. Easy to do. I should have done it before the drill. I didn't. What else did we have? Oh, then the big thing we were talking about, I think Sean said that the frequencies went out in advance, and that was great. We need to do the same thing for the WinLink channels, because it's not frequencies, but it's email addresses. And so we need to have some sort of a equivalent 205 for whose county email or WinLink address, who's Richmond, who's El Cerrito, who's San Ramon, because we can use various frequencies, but without that email address, there's nothing you can do about it. Or you end up going to into an overload analog channel and asking, and that won't work either. So I think that wasn't my issue, but I think that, as you saw, I had a whole lot of learning to do. And let's see, I never got anything back from Howdy. I sent him a couple of messages. Howdy, I don't know why. I never, other than the check-in early on, I think I never saw anything back from you. So I think I went through that pretty fast, but it was a humbling experience for me since I know how to use WinLink, but I had never used it in the middle of an exercise.
Very good, very good. Good. So let me just, Jim Brunk, I know your hand is up, but let me ask a question. Les, since you are in dentist attire, do you need to go next? Les? Okay, maybe he's doing something else. Okay, Jim, go. What would you like?
Okay, thank you. Dawn, just for your own edification, there is a weekly practice for WinLink out of Virginia. Look up WinLink Wednesday.
Okay.
And one Wednesday of the week, I believe it's the first one, you send them a weather report. The third one, you send them a 209 form. So, you know, you get the exercise doing things. And then there's another one that's similar to that, but it's a week-long event from the Great Lakes. So if you look up GLAWN, GLAWN, it's the Great Lakes area something or other. They do the same thing. There's also another one for California that I don't participate in. Also, the Contra Costa DigiNet folks that run every other week, I send one off to them. That's ORB and John SQ run that one. So there's ample opportunity to do weekly practice.
Yeah, I think what I need is I need to practice under a stressful situation. I have no problems handling WinLink, but you know, it's the fast typos and the quick reading that if it's one message in a net, no problem. So
sure,
okay,
but I'll
good.
work on it.
Good.
I mean, you know, it's
okay. So let's, Jim, you're up.
so-
So additional.
So I ran the WinLink portion of the county. Les ran the analog version. I had actually no problem whatsoever. As Don mentioned, they sent off a message with a template that I didn't have, but I still was able to read it. So that was, you know, that's a plus. I second the emotion of the some sort of a directory. I don't know what format that should take, because ideally it could just be a text.
Okay. Got it.
Text type of a situation that can be presented. I think I mentioned to you earlier in the week when I was doing my brain dump, the selection of the simplex frequencies probably could have been better in the sense that there are long established frequencies that are exercised on a weekly basis that were not used. So for instance, the Central County 680 frequency, for whatever reason, the main frequency that was chosen was the frequency that the Martinez folks use for their city type stuff. So there are established frequencies out there. I think I sent out an op-ed one from back in the olden days that the old Racy's Aries folks was trying to get everybody to program into the first 10 10 memories of their 2-meter HTs. So that's how old it is. Anyway, that's stuff that has been ground that's been plowed multiple times in the past. So I think we should take advantage of the
Got it.
the So other than that, with respect to establishing a station, I think the Walnut Creek folks were worrying about how to put an antenna up. The WinLink station for the county, I brought it in a satchel, opened up a window, put out my my crappie pole and my Ed Fong J pole, and we were up and running in probably 5 minutes.
Yeah,
So
Jim, let me interrupt you for a minute. We have 2 VHF antennas on top of City Hall. It's the HF that would be the issue.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but got it.
Just to clarify that.
Yeah, we were only running VHF WinLink, and I did talk chat with Barry, whose RMS we used, and he said they actually had a rolling blackout during the session, and that he had put a battery backup in there that made it essentially a seamless type of a situation.
I used him and it worked great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my input
else,
at this
Jim?
point.
Okay,
That's
very good, very good. Thank you very much. Jim, did I send to you, so one of my concerns is, and I don't want to go deep in this session, but how does an agency know that authorized operators are operating on their behalf versus unaffiliated, well-intentioned or not well-intentioned individual operators? So to that end, I thought I would send to you a WinLink prior to the exercise with authorized Walnut Creek EOC authorized ham call signs. Did you receive that?
I believe so. I would have to go back and relook. Right off the top of my head, I don't remember seeing it, but there's error bars on that.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you. JT, you've got your hand up, and then maybe Les needs to get in here. So JT, go for it.
Just real quick, I was really gratified that there were multiple VHF RMS gateways available to Don and others. And I feel really good about the progress that we have all made over the last 4 or 5 years in getting more WinLink gateways up in our area. We were on a real island of no access whatsoever a couple of years ago. And secondly, I goofed on both Howdy's call sign and Jim Brunk's call sign when I sent out Margaret's weather report request. So Don, don't feel like you're lonely, okay? It's just email, right? It had nothing to do with when I couldn't get the call sign straight.
Yeah.
So
when you see if anybody looks at my log, you'll see I fat fingered a call sign also. I mean, it's just retraining.
Okay, very good. Thanks. Anything else, JT? Okay, thanks for playing our game. Les, do you need to get in here? Do you have any comments?
Yeah, nothing. I mean, I just want to reinforce everything was said. If it hasn't been acknowledged again numerous times, I wanted to thank you. And I can't remember, you had an additional help on this exercise.
Don Simon.
Yeah, Don Simon. I thought that you both did an excellent job and pulling this through in a short period of time. I'm not sure if Jim had brought this up. I know that it came up in comments, but we'll have to all work on getting a greater outreach. For the I had talked with I'm in Orinda, so I talked with several people with our club, and they were not aware, and would have been more than happy to have their EOCs participate. So anyway, that's something for us to work on in another session. But again, I really appreciate everyone's participation and your leadership. You two leader, you're both of you.
Well, thank you. It was a short period of time. Jim had mentioned, it was a pretty central Contra Costa County focused, and that's just the limitations of
For sure.
my network, and then Don was working his network on the West. So with more people participating in planning and a longer planning window, then and Tim and Lori Salmon suggested that we not wait until 2025 Golden Eagle, that maybe there should be a semi-annual exercise, because it really isn't, more hands make easier work, and it really isn't that much effort. And they also, the Salmons also recommended that there be more collegial informal exercises, particularly because, and I did see this, people have not changed their EOC, personnel changes, people move on, and the original people who programmed your EOC equipment now don't know how to move that equipment to other channels, and they had to do some backup. We had some people who just did not have the basic skills of changing channels because of where they are, in their progression, either in roles within their agencies or where they are, when you have young people who are interested in participating, that's wonderful. That's what we need, but they don't necessarily have the technical skills. So more frequent, smaller level practices would be very helpful. So I noted that in the notes. Okay, thank you, Les. Who wants to go next, please? Comment, suggestion, something we haven't mentioned. You've got something out there that you were burning to tell us.
Okay, Margaret, Jim, K6SOE, I can go here.
Please do, Jim.
Okay, well, overall, I believe all the traffic was handled to a mode of success. Something that I guess old school message handling, which is the same, I guess, format as the ALL message form goes, is that everybody needs to transmit the first 5 words, and then after those 5 words are transmitted, the receiving station, after they get through scratching it on a piece of paper, will acknowledge those first 5 words. The next 5 words get transmitted, that gets acknowledged, and then you don't have to repeat the whole message, no matter how long it is. That you don't actually need fills except during each 5 words. That if the first 5 words get garbled, you repeat those until you get them completed, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's about the only thing I've got here.
Very
and
good.
That's true for VHF, HF, voice communications.
Very good. Thank you, Jim. Very good. Appreciate that. Larry B.
Well, thanks. And I want to say, Margaret, thank you for encouraging me to participate in this exercise. As you realize, I had a lot of reluctance to do so.
You weren't the only one.
I had a couple of encouragements, not only from you, but from others to do so, because I felt really I just didn't have the true skill set and the practice that I needed. So I am glad that I did participate. A couple of things, I have a couple of notes here that I was writing down. The ICS 309 form, I have it. It looks like chicken scratch all over it. I find it kind of difficult to sort of find space to
Don't worry
fill in the
about that.
blanks.
Send me a
It'll-
picture. Send me a picture.
right.
That's what I got from some other folks who participated. That is fine.
I'd be so embarrassed to send you a picture.
Oh,
And
that's fine. I get it though.
and the other thing was that I was really hoping, just to get kind of paint the scene here, is that I'm operating from the Concord Police Department, and we have a little radio area, small area, located on the 3rd floor. We operate 2 Kenwood TMD 700 radios, which were nice radios. I hadn't had a lot of experience using those radios, but fortunately, it's very similar to my Kenwood TM V71A.
71s,
So,
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
so it worked out really well. One of the things I would have liked to have done is to do more simplex frequency checks to see if I could reach other parts within the county. My feeling was that there's a certain level of communication that needs to be done with the county EOC for resource management, but a lot of that could be taken offline and done just direct between the different city entities, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely.
Didn't require EOCs to be concerned about. Other thing was that I did bring a backup radio in there, a little Go box that I have with a Chinese radio, KT79, and it worked fine on the repeater, the ham repeater, but I was having difficulties with it using the simplex. So, but that was good to know, because I always think it's good to have a backup system someplace along the way. I think that pretty much covers it. Again, I could have. It would have been helpful to have a scribe.
Yeah.
The situation in the Concord Police Department is that you can't be in there without having a volunteer in police service who's sworn in as a VIPS, and for security reasons. So we would need to require a runner to go from where the radio area is to any EOC location, which is on the other side of the building. And that runner would have to be a person who's a volunteer in police service. So I tried to get somebody to do that, to help me, but who was a VIPS, but he was unavailable.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Larry. I think multiple agencies have that same issue, so totally understand that as well. With another problem related to the short lead time of an exercise was that lots of jurisdictions, it's just hard to scare up people. During vacation time, Martinez was, just had a major exercise, so they couldn't tap into the same volunteers. A theme for me here is volunteer availability. We are all often tapping into the same volunteers and the same people who hold institutional knowledge. Are we sharing that institutional knowledge with younger members? Are we working together to try and get more people involved in amateur radio and auxiliary communication? So
I think having a pre-event group is a good opportunity just for people, even like myself, who haven't really participated before, to get the practice beforehand.
Yeah. That's great. Okay, good. Thank you, Larry. Others who wants to go next?
I'll go next, Margaret.
Please do.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. As a newly licensed operator of just under 3 weeks, I'm very pleased to hear that well and very experienced operators are bringing up the need to have more training and as well as practice. I think that's great. I was stationed actually on Fruitvale Avenue in Oakland. I attempted a check-in. I was able to hear traffic very well. However, when I attempted to check in, my transmission didn't go over. It was they couldn't get my information. So That's why I feel that practice is important. But again, I want to emphasize that I was able to hear traffic very well. And I really appreciate the opportunity to take part in this exercise. So looking forward to more training and more practice. Thank you.
Very good. We were so happy, George, that you were going to participate. We were sorry that we couldn't hear you, but it is good to know that you could hear us, and we'll just keep going. And it's so great to have your agency as a participant for resources in a disaster. So that was another thing that was nice, was, you know, you brought a realism if Clínica de las Razas were actually playing.
Yes, and so for everybody's information, our organization has 38 sites across 3 counties: Alameda, Contra Costa, and Sonoma. So it is very, very helpful for us to be able to communicate in the event of a disaster. So that's why I really appreciate the opportunity to do these type of exercises, and definitely more practice and training. So thank you.
Very good, very good. Thank you. And let me just mention to folks that you may not understand, you may not know, we threw Joybound in as an analog NGO because when they were Tony La Russa, they really wanted to get into helping local communities following a disaster, not just in the animal front, but they have vans. They have vans they can use for delivery of supplies. And on top of that, they have all of the standard medical as well as food services that are available in cages to help with animal issues in shelters. So I kind of wanted to throw that into the mix so that we would all have an understanding of Joybound's interest and capability, at least when it was just before it switched from Tony La Russa to Joybound. Okay, others. Who else? Who hasn't gone that has additional thoughts?
I can speak up.
Oh,
Margaret,
please
if you want.
do. Please
This
do.
is John K, KM6JT. I'm in San Ramon, for people that don't know me.
Thank you, John.
I was listening to Larry B's concern about, he was concerned about joining the drill because he didn't feel like he was experienced enough. Well, I'll tell you, I'm a lot less knowledgeable and less experienced than Larry B, and I went in completely ignorant. So anyway, I was going fat, dumb, and happy into the drill. And it was really useful for me. I mean, I thought it was a good experience for me. There were some things that, you know, kind of down here in San Ramon, for example. One thing before I say that, I don't really have a good knowledge of the hierarchy of the whole thing. I'm in San Ramon CERT, and I know there was a discussion of EOSs in the area. There was the net control kind of traffic copying the whole thing. And so just for my own edification, just kind of a better knowledge of what the hierarchy and the structure is of the organization. Not that it impaired me in any way, but if there was an actual situation, it would be good to know, you know, who my contacts were. You know, it might be better for me to go to a local EOC rather than, you know, discussing, you know, net control. I think is about other people have kind of commented on that. It was my transmission down here in San Ramon where I asked specifically to be transferred over to the W6CX repeater. And that was because I was monitoring the Walnut Creek simplex channel, and I really couldn't make it out down here in San Ramon. Now, if for example, net control had directed me over to the Walnut Creek, I don't know the Walnut Creek simplex channel. I don't know if people up in Walnut Creek or Concord know who I can reach on simplex down here in San Ramon. So I don't know how to fix that, but it's just something to keep in mind. When we did go over to W6CX, there was already a conversation going on there. So again, I don't know if there are other places. Now I requested it, so it's my own fault, but I don't know if there's other places that I could have been directed to have a side conversation.
Yep, it's a good point. That's what Jim Brunk was talking about, and I thought that there was some excellent. That was good leadership on your part. And I know that Walnut Creek and Concord also tried, you know, moving themselves over. We had published W6CX for you simply because Sean had said that we are San Ramon and Walnut Creek are not going to be able to talk via simplex, but Jim Brunk advises there are some known frequencies that we can all play in. So I think that it's going to be important that we actually try, not in a major drill, to do that. What else, John?
That's about it as far as my experience. I was, I only had a couple of messages going in. I was listening to the whole thing and I thought it was very educational. Really good drill, good exercise. And if there's more practicing either with WinLink, HF, anything like that, I'd be interested in participating.
Very good. Very good. I'll send you some information on what Walnut Creek does.
Okay.
Good. Thank you. Thank you. Larry B, back again. Larry?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I'm the only one. I just wanted to check with others. But for a while there, I was getting some crosstalk on .735.
What was that?
It was a background conversation going on, not by any of the operators. It was almost like I don't know. Was there another repeater using that?
Yeah. There is another repeater down on Fremont Peak that comes in, and it sounds like two people on handy talkies because it's so far away.
Yeah.
And they're on a completely different PL. So I'm not saying this, but talk over them.
No, I did. And I definitely did, but it was slightly annoying, but fortunately, like you say, Jim, it was sort of low volume.
Okay, good. Got that. Yeah, no, I remember you mentioning that, and I could not hear it on an Echo Link. Okay, others.
Well, I think that the Concord Police Department has a disc cone antenna, which is pretty good for receive. So maybe that was part of the deal.
Okay, very good, very good. Who else would like to contribute? Who hasn't spoken that has additional information they'd like to mention? Going, gone. We're going to end a meeting early.
If everyone else is done, I wouldn't mind just taking a few seconds to express my gratitude, first of all, to Margaret and Don Simon for stepping up and leading the exercise for Contra Costa County. There have been some challenges in getting participation, and you guys rocked it, absolutely rocked it. And I'm super excited to have seen such great participation, and I'm glad you're taking these excellent notes on the observations that people made. We had a slightly different perspective of challenges in Alameda County that somewhat match some of your comments. A couple of things that I wanted to bring up. One of them was that, and we had 6 people participating at the county level, and then we had 3 other cities that were participating. And what we discovered, of the 3 that were participating, 3 of the 6 had less than 1 year experience on the team. And this was, for each of them, their first time participating in a training event of this magnitude. And a couple of observations. One of them was there was a tendency when someone was given a message to pretend that they had delivered the message, and then they came up with a simulated response. That's not bad, but what happens is if you're not actually thinking through how to get the message through, then what happens is you're just making up a response. There's a danger in that, because in an actual event, what we really need people to think through is, if I got this message, first of all, am I the right person to receive it? In other words, could there be somebody closer? Is there a different agency that this needs to go to? Maybe what I need to do is figure out how to relay this. So if you've ever participated on any of the National Traffic System, the NTS for the Radio League, you'll know that it's not as easy as it sounds. You can't just make it up. You got to figure out, how am I going to get this message down to the last, I call it the last mile, but in actuality, how do you get it to that person's house or that person's radio? Do you call them on the phone? Do you, if they have, is phone service active? And so I just want to call attention to the need to really pay attention during these exercises, how you would actually deliver that message to the recipient, and not just fake a response. The second thing is that our agency came to us early in the exercise and gave us a report of all of the cell towers that were down. But interestingly, when they had communications for some of the NGOs, we never saw any of those messages. They went, for example, directly to American Red Cross, and so I asked one of the career staffers why that was. You know, if cell towers are down, why were we not receiving any requests for communication? And the answer was actually exactly what I expected. Well, one, we had some of those people in the room, and we were managing all of our communications over VOCI, so which is like Web EOC. So it's a web application. The question is, in an actual disaster of that magnitude, where the cell towers are down, is it also likely that internet access would be up? And more importantly, is internet access up down to each individual shelter? The likelihood is no. So in a real disaster, they would likely having to be using us, and they were completely unprepared. So part of my after action report back to the folks that developed the course with me is to kind of probe into that a little bit and make sure that we're all on the same page, that auxiliary communications actually serves the need. You guys did a tremendous job. So please don't take anything that I said as any kind of a slight. I'm just simply pointing out that there was that information gap there. And then second to that, or I should say third point, was everybody that participated agreed that we should do this more often. And so August 22nd, please put this on your calendar if you're able to participate. We're going to do a coastal county exercise, different scenario. It'll be an eruption of the Cascadia Fault and following tsunami. And 16 counties, so that's the entire coastal region, are looking to play. And again, it will be career and radio folks that are playing in that. If you're able to make it, great. And then if you guys have suggestions on some smaller exercises that you want to do, I heard a couple of people say, let's focus on WinLink. There are already some WinLink weekly nets. There's a Northern California one, and I don't know, Margaret, if you have all these already. If you don't, I'll be happy to send you the contact info for them. But yes, please do get people prepared to use WinLink. It's really not that difficult. It's a little bit of a challenge, but the fact is that, you know, especially if you have to give a paragraph worth of information, it's a whole lot easier to send it by WinLink than it is to do it over radio.
Yeah.
So
Dan,
those are my thoughts.
Very
Dan,
good, very good.
Dan, let me interrupt. Just comment two things, Dan. One is I've been in contact with Powell Helms up in Napa.
Yes.
And I think you should, we were going to do WinLink, and what he said was their WinLink operator came down with COVID, and so they couldn't do it. But what that points out is the paucity of WinLink operators.
Right.
And I think we have to work on that. And I think also we're going to have to get, it just means more personnel. Let's see, what was the other comment I wanted to make about that? Completely gone now. But anyway, I think, yeah, it'll come back. Oh, no, that was it. Just that I think we sort of need training there, and I'm all for doing more exercises.
Great. So I've set up WinLink RMS nodes and happy to talk through it at a very deep and technical level.
I found them. One of them works for me. Yeah.
A couple of them aren't working quite right, but the one that's on the one that is working great.
I guess 11 is the one that's working for me.
Exactly. That's I would expect that. That's great, Don. I appreciate that. And I appreciate the feedback too. And then you have a local guy there, John Trenerud, who is also very familiar with WinLink, and he has expressed a desire to teach people WinLink. And then, of course, there are also a whole bunch of WinLink YouTube videos. I am more than happy to be a technical resource. If I get jammed, like if I get 5 or 6 people all pinging me at the same time, that might be a bit overwhelming for me. But at the present moment, I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Yeah. So we have a pretty good capability to do training, and I think my problem was not that I confessed to was not dealing with WinLink from a technical point of view and the training and templates and all that kind of stuff, I can do it. The question was fat fingering things in the moment of doing a stressful exercise. And
Right.
and I think that's time and time again, we find out on all our radio exercises that it's not the radios. And we heard it today. It's don't do
Yeah.
long messages and speak
Right.
slowly. It's all those kinds of skills that are the most important for us to do the training on. At least that's my guess.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
exactly right, Don. And that's the biggest reason why to keep training.
All right, very good. Thank you for all of that, Dan, and thank you for all your coaching throughout the whole experience. It's great learning opportunity for all of us. Don Simon, you've been quiet. I see your hand is raised. Please come now.
Yeah, thanks, Margaret. I just wanted to say a few things. The main thing is like we can continue this conversation on the Groups IO website, forum at the Contra Costa County MCOM net. Most of the people here are already subscribers. If there's some topics you don't like, just mute it. It's okay. You can just get the ones either on the ones that you want. For instance, there's already a thread on Golden Eagle 24. So those people who have some other desires to talk further on this topic can continue to do so. Just go to Groups.io and search Contra Costa MCOM net, and it should come up, and we can join you up. I agree with K6SOE. Jim has been around for a long time, and I think message handling experience, the more the merrier, and we should also look at efficient and effective, efficient procedures. Jim Bunk also provided the OpNote 1, which is old, but it does have a list of simplex frequencies that can be used. Central County and West County, for instance, can use the same frequencies because we really don't have simplex communications between the two. And there's other documents on the forum. Thirdly, outreach. I think that a few people brought that up. We do need more operators, and it's an IT kind of age, and we're not doing any. We're doing very little work on the internet, bringing in new hams specifically for MCOM, and the forum is the only one that's visible right now in Contra Costa County. But having a web page for Aries or ACS Aries together for the whole MCOM community would be useful. There's more to talk about always, and I will just refer people to possibly joining up on the forum. And the HF net worked really well between West and East and West and South, and Central WA6 EKS was there for a little bit, and I think Les might have checked into the HF net from the EOC. Someone had written down his call sign K6LEH. Les, did you check into the HF net?
I don't know if Les is still on.
There was no HF from the county. In fact, we were in the old EOC assembly room, so we were actually distanced away from all the new technology and stuff like that. So there was no HF from the county.
Okay, thanks, Jim. Great. I just want to let people know that they can have an HF station located anywhere as long as they're in simplex range of your local emergency or your local MCOM net. So for instance, if someone has HF and a 2-meter rig, they can relay the message in that form to the EOC via VHF. Anyway, so thanks to Margaret, she did a fantastic job. Larry did a great job with a 2-meter net, VHF net. Thanks to WA6HAM CCRA for the use of the repeater. Has some traffic on W6CX, let's see, and everyone else who participated and, just sacrificed with, whatever their normal activity might be. So we could do this some more. I think we could, rather than have Golden Eagle dictate the 4-day out scenario with chain supply chain problems, we could possibly do a thing that we decide is more relevant, like CERT, maybe focused with 2 local EOCs and then mutual aid and all kinds of stuff. We could talk about a drill for Contra Costa.
So
Anyway, thanks,
Very good. Very good.
Margaret, and
Margaret,
everybody
you.
else.
I have
wait,
one quick question.
Yeah, and Jim has his hand up, and I have a hard
All right.
stop in 1 minute.
Well, my quick question is W6, the Mount Diablo repeater, as I recall, is dedicated to a hospital net in a real emergency. Is W6HAM available for what we did, or do they, in a real emergency, are they allocated elsewhere?
I can speak a little bit to that. The HAM repeater system is dedicated to the county as a tactical frequencies.
Okay.
So, and the HAM, the CX repeater, the hospital net is really not a repeater net. It was originally dedicated to be a gathering point for a group of simplex nets. So, there's a lot of history there. Anyway.
Okay.
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 Jim Brunk, you got the last minute.
Okay. I just want to do a self-serving announcement here. A lot of stuff has been said by a lot of people about HF. HF implies general or above. The Larry Loomer runs a testing session monthly at the MDARC meeting on the third Friday of the month. The Martinez Club runs a testing session on the second Saturday of the month. Right now, the ARRL's cyber stuff has got everything choked up, but those things are still scheduled. So encourage people to upgrade, and it's available.
All right. Very good. Very good. All right. And we thank Larry for his service in that regard, particularly. He's just getting ready to do a ham cram for us with some scouts. All right. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate all of that information. I will send it out. We'll come up with an after action report, but fantastic. Take care. Have a good day.